Welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today we're continuing our series as we build the Mostarle Cyberpunk Plasma Spider. Today we're doing steps 21 through 28. In step 21, there's wires that's kind of circle, but they kind of look like antenna, and they give some curvature to the overall spider. I didn't know as I did it. I didn't know if there were going to be electricity running through their wires. There's not. They're just purely decorative. Also, the end pieces, the hoops that hook to those wires, they don't tell you to crimp them. They don't use any words in the instruction books. Not hardly. They use the letters, the numbers, and there's all diagrams. But it doesn't show you crimping those end pieces, those hoops to that wire, and you do need to. And I did that later on in my video. In addition to that tip, we also, at the end of this video, we circle back. We correct something that we had done in steps 10 and 11. At this point, it was at the end of this, it was after the step 28 that, or during the time that I was doing step 28, that I realized that I didn't really like how those mandibles, how those plates weren't quite level. They were kind of at an angle, and they were too much of an angle, and I didn't like them, so I swapped out those holes. It was at the end of this video that I did that when I was doing the build. I've included it in the video. However, hopefully you made that correction in the previous video, because I warned you. Hopefully you made the correction too. Hopefully you don't feel like you need to make a correction because you did it earlier if you watched the previous video. So at the end of the video, I do swap out that bolt for this that was used, the bolt that was used in steps 10 and 11. So without further ado, let's get on to step 21. Step 21, we're looking for T3 times 2 and C11. Here it is. All right, they're kind of bent in half, and in the instructions, I'll put the instructions up, you can see that they're supposed to be straight out. This looks like some wiring, so straightening the wire out. So there's 2 of those, C11, and it looks like we need 4 of those guys. Do they just twist on? Looks like they might just twist on. It looks like you insert them into the ends, not very tight, and one of the ends you bend up. Well, I say it's not very tight. It's not tight at all. All right, so you can see, ooh. All right, but we want to have one of those ends, we want to bend to a 90 degree. Bend back to 90 degrees. Bend back to 90 degrees. Okay, that's one. It's interesting that they have you do this and then they don't do anything with it right away. So we've got that set up, I guess. So that was step 21. It's not, they're not very firm in there. So that's a little interesting. It doesn't tell me to do anything other than slide them on and bend that one end. All right, so I guess we'll just go on to 22 and see what happens. Set out some of the stuff we need here. Looks like we're building just one of these guys. So it says take out 2 of the bolts. Maybe we're building 2 of these guys, because now I know that the X means times. 2 of those, 2 of the C9s, 2 of the L1s, C11. We want 2 of the C11s, 2 of the M2s. Okay, let's piece this together. Take the bolt, put the coppery piece on. Thusly, like so, and the big L1 kind of slides on like this, and then your eyepiece pointing outward, and then you bolt it on the M2. I don't know if I have that very square. Let's see if I can grab it and screw it up. This looks like they might be the LED lights for the eyeballs. Now it says turn this 90 degrees. So holding it like this, how do you know what 90 degrees is? Oh, to activate the light. You see that in there? It did feel like it tightened up a little bit. I hand tightened this mechanism here. Looks like there's 2 of them to build. Okay, so I assembled the other, what do we call this, eyeball. And it went on a little bit more smoothly after doing it once. But then when I tighten this, screw this eyeball on a little better, the light came on. Look at that. And it cycles. I don't know if you can see that color. green and blue, and there's a red in there somewhere. So makes me, oh, there's a different color green, right? And so I'm just gonna, I don't want to wear out the battery. So, but that's interesting because this one didn't quite do that. You might remember, I thought, oh, it does do that. If I get it tight enough, there it is. There it is. All right. Well, I don't want those going off all the time. So loosen that back up just a little bit. All right. So that's pretty cool. The eyeballs work. There must be a battery inside of those things. Let's move on to step 23. Let's pull out the stuff for that. So it says I need 2 of the bolts, 2 of the SC2-16s, 2 of the C9s, 2 of the D1s. This is like a grooved washer. 2 of the C1s. 4 of the CP, that's the larger washer. 2 of the W2s, brackety type things, okay. 2 of the SP, the smaller washers. 2 of the S2s, all right, those are the end cappy things. Oh, we got some stuff to assemble here. So, take our bolt, add on the coppery cap, coppery piece, we put on the cylinder, the D1, that must be the groovy, okay. And these are slightly cone shaped, and it says put the cone angled toward the outside. Slide on the cylinder. You don't know if the cylinder makes much difference. Slide on the cylinder. That's pretty loose. 2 of the CPs. That's 2 of the bigger washers. The bracket. The last hole of the bracket. The smaller washer. And finally the end cap. Let's see if we can tighten that guy up. This looks like we're building the eye assembly. Pretty snug. All right. Let's do the next one. So with step 23 done, I did the second piece. Those are done. And it looks kind of like that. Actually, we're going to use those pieces. The pieces we made in 22 and 23 in step 24. And I've set out the stuff here for 24. We need the SC2-20, we need 1 of those. C9, we need 1 of those. D1, we need 1 of those D1 grippy washer things. C2, M4, 1 large washer, the M4. W6, a bracket looking thing. S2 as the end cap. This looks like quite the juggle. And I'll maybe I can put the picture up of what it's supposed to look like. So start with the bolt and slide on the coppery cap piece, and then the washer, the grooved washer, cone shaped, cone pointing out. We'll call that a lock washer maybe. And then the big piece, this big cylinder piece, M4. M4 is the bolt. Well, that'd be nice if that actually screws on there. Let's see, or does it just slide? It would have been nice if that actually tightened on there, but it doesn't. All right, now we get tricky. So this says 23. 23 is the one that has a coppery piece. 23 doesn't. 23 is this one. So we have ones that have the 22 has the copper caps on the end. The 23s do not. So it looks like it goes something like this. One of those. And then the other one of those. One of those. One of those. I have no idea if I'm doing this right. Oh, so easy to just lose it all. So I'm putting the pieces we made in 23 through the slotty part of the bracket. Looks like the end part goes away from it. Is there any other washer? Doesn't look like it. Alright, and then we just gotta get this on there. Let's try to grab that bolt with the pliers and see if we can tighten that up at all. Looks like I can. Feels like I can. I'll make that pretty tight. I think I need to loosen it up just a hair to get the eyeballs oriented just a little bit more like they're supposed to be. As compared to the image, these seem to be more parallel, straight out left and right, with the Y behind them, and these two kind of more like that, so that maybe that bracket's more of an X formation. All right, let's tighten it up like that. That looks pretty good. Oh, I'm just fiddling with this to get it more like the picture. There you go. Bend that bracket a little bit. We'll have to see if that really, how much I can bend it back though. I think that looks reasonably similar. This one light bulb is really loose. I don't know if I can tighten that at this point or not. As loose as that light is, eyeball, whatever you want to call it, is. I want to tighten that up a little bit. That's much better. Not flopping around all over the place. That's what it looks like. That's how mine looks like. So this is steps 22, 23, and 24. Here it is from the back. I am on step 25, and I see in step 25 it's putting some assembly more onto those eyeballs that we just created in the last few steps. Now, previous to assembling those eyeballs, we had step 21, which kind of confused me because you put on these little hoopy things, but it didn't say to crimp them or anything, and I'm still not entirely sure if they're decorative or other. So just checked out Darth Savage, I believe is his name, video, and I didn't see where he did it. He did this step at all. However, he did have them ready to go in step 25. So I'm thinking he just crimped those on. I think we're supposed to just crimp those on. And so that is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take those and I'm just going to squeeze it so it's tight. So to do that, I moved it way deep into the pliers to pinch those on. Did I mention I'm not necessarily all that mechanically inclined? And here I am taking on this puzzle, right? So there's that end. Let's crimp this end. Again, to do that, I get all the way toward the front of the pliers. Maybe I'll get it set just how I want it in the pliers first. And then I'll put the cord in, the wire in, pinch that on there real good, pinch real tight. Hopefully that's right, or I could be in trouble. So I am on step 25. I took a minute to crimp the ends to the wire thusly. And now we are going to do step 25. It looks like step 25, we're going to attach the wires from 21, the eyeballs from 24, and we're going to put some more stuff on it. We're going to fill out that bracket. Fill out that bracket with, it looks like more eyeballs. Okay, so let's set out the pieces. We have 2 SC20s, 2 C9s, 2 of the two of the D1s. That is looks like a lock washer. 2 of the C4s, spacers with holes on them. 2 of the D2s, 2 of the N3s, 2 SPs, and 2 S2s. All right. SC20s, we put on the copper looking thing. We put in the lock washer. The lock washer cone side out. We put the cylinder with the 2 holes. Cylinder with the 2 holes. We put the D2. All right, so it covers that up a little bit. We have the N3 stacking on there, N3. All right, it looks like that goes through the bracket, and then we have the wire, the small washer, and we try to get the end cap on there, and we try to get this end bolt on. There, I got it. There it started. How many eyes does this spider have, huh? All right, now we can tighten that up. I like how the holes ended up near the top. That's pretty sharp. Okay, so I did that one. I think I'll go ahead and pause and I'll do the other side. Okay, I got the eye assembly. I believe I have the eye assembly done for step 25. And this is how it turned out. This is what it looks like for me. That's how I got the wires situated. And hopefully that will work out. All right. So that's the eye assembly. It's a lot of eyes. Eye assembly from step 25. Now we're moving on to 26. It looks like we're moving back to the body. We need 2 of the 18 millimeter bolts. Let's grab M3. We need 2 of the M3s, 2 of the H2s, 2 of the W4s, and 2 of the S2s, the end caps, end bolts. All right, let's see if we can piece these together. Looks like we got 2 parts here. Try to orient this the way they have it in the image. Oh, the purpleness came off that one. That's a little sad. And kind of oriented that way. All right, so it goes through the big nut. It just slides right on. Looks like this goes, this bracket piece cradles that, runs through. It does fit, kinda. So close, I can see it. All right, it will fit. All right, it proved it to us. It will fit. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like that. Just like that. Slide right through. Sure it will. Sure it will. It's right there. I got it. Finally. Whew. Finally. Am I right? It's still oriented correctly? Seems to still be oriented correctly. It is tight. There's no doubt about it. And then we put the S2 end cap on it. And we'll screw it on. Alright, let's do the other side. Put the bolt on. Let's see if we can slide this through any easier. Let's get the cap on before I start fiddling with it too much. I don't want it to fall off accidentally. Because that's not how it's supposed to look. I do not think it's supposed to be that erect. I think it's supposed to be down more. Okay, we got it. That's more like what it's supposed to be. Let's tighten this guy on. I do wonder if this tightness is going to matter later. The angle of that bracket might matter later. Alright, looks like that. Don't love that that's not purple. So that's step 26. Yeah, so step 27 looks like it's going to use these two pieces. So let's pull out the parts. So we need 1 of these tiny little bolts. SP, just one little small washer. W3, 1 bracket, and the S2, just 1 of the S2. Easy. You know, how could this possibly give me 8 fits? All right, we're just going to attach these two like that and like that, so they face out. So you take the teeny weeny bolt, you take the small washer, stack them on. All right, just to be picky, this has it so the bolt's up top, which means it goes like that. The bolt's up top. The bolt is up top. How do we orient this? There are the bolts on top. There's bolts on top. But that's not the bolt. Oh yeah, it's a screw. Teeny weeny bolt through one side, 1 bracket, through the other bracket, and then at the back, this pokes out the top through the bottom hole of this bracket. So they say. All right, and then let's try to get this cap on. All right, I got it started. I don't know how much I've missed. So here I'm on step 27, and I'm putting the pieces 26. I'm tying them together with a small little bolt, and hopefully I didn't miss a whole bunch. I just bumped my mouse, so hopefully that just was what I ended it. And we'll tie those together. They should be fairly parallel, it looks like, according to the picture. Fix that once I get it tighter. That's how mine looks. Pretty good. I might give it another yank on the... Just make it a little bit tighter. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, so there's that piece. Step 28. We're pulling a lot of things together. Wow, it looks like we're putting the eyeballs and the mandibles together. So this says it's built in. This says it was built in 18. We need the parts built in 19. What was 19? Oh, it was the spring pieces. That was 20. 20's in there too. Well, let's get the baggies out that I need. Let's see what happens here. One of the SE 25mm bolts. 3 of the M3s. D1. SP. One of the smaller washers. C3. One of these spacer cylinders. C7. CP. 2 of these larger washers. And S2 end cap. Okie dokie. So it starts with SE225. It looks like it goes next with the M3 bolt, followed by the lock washer. Every other time it's been angled outward, so we're going to do it that way. Then it looks like it's going to the thing we built in step 19. This guy. Thing we built in 19. Alright, and it goes oriented like this. Like this. Looks like it. Looks like it to me. Then it looks like it's going through the eye assembly. Then it looks like it's going through the spring assembly. The assembly that had the spring. I don't understand it. Oh. Before we do this, we do the C7. Hard for me to tell which comes first. Looks like C7 might come before the eye assembly. This is going to take some figuring out. Okay. That was almost unreasonably difficult. So I'm on step 28. And I have got to fit all this together, right? The mandibles, the eyeballs, all these different sub-assemblies. You got to piece them all together on this one bolt. Let me read it to you, all right? And I'll throw it up on the screen. You have the SE2-25, right? And then you have a M3 bolt, a D1, that lock washer, SP, that's the smaller washer. Then you have to fit this sub-assembly of 19, as I have to look at it even now. Sub-assembly 19, then you have the spacer, the piece of that C7 is kind of a gear looking thing. That's a spacer to go between sub-assembly 19 and sub-assembly 20. Oh, I do have it done here, and I'll show it to you here in a second. I'll zoom in on it. So the bolt, the washer, the bolt, the loose washer, the lock washer, the small washer, the bolt that is, right? The bolt, the nut, the loose nut, right? The bolt, the loose nut, which is M3. D1 is the lock washer. SP, the small washer. The subassembly of 19. The gold gear that is C7, which is really a spacer between the subassembly 19 and subassembly 20. Then you have to get that on. And I had to really zoom in on this. I still do. All right, so after subassembly 25, which is the mandible, which is the eyeballs. Yeah, so it goes 19, the gold gear put C7. Then I put subassembly 25, which is the eyeballs. Then I followed that with the spring subassembly, which is 20. Then I put in another loose nut, which is M3, followed by the spacer, which is C3, another loose nut of M3, followed by the larger washer, CP. All right, and miraculous. I somehow you need to put all that in on top of the subassembly that is the mandibles, the 18, right? And then in the image says 180. So it's just telling you the orientation, because on top of all that, they want another, I'm sorry, not a small washer, a large washer, CP, a large washer. And then finally with one of those teeny tiny S2 end bolts. I somehow I balanced all that, and I had it sitting there. I had it all balanced on one finger, all stacked up, and I reached in there with the pliers holding the bolt, and I set it right on top, and I very gently, just barely tried to get one thread, then two threads on that bolt. It's amazing that I could do that. Now, having said that, I skipped a part. I went back and I changed something. So let's talk about that. So I got that on there, and I'm not done yet. So I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but you might notice these pieces right here. These pieces right here, this piece and this piece. I don't love in the book, these two pieces look very flat, very parallel, perpendicular, as opposed to now they're at some amount of degree, from there. It's not 180, right? It's maybe even 120 or 130, right? And so the bolts, this is from all the way back. I believe it's, steps 10 and 11. Steps 10 and 11. So if you go back to steps 10 and 11, I'll put it up there. 10 and 11. If you look, it says to use this SE20 bolt. I think that's an error. I think those should be 18. Matter of fact, that's what I did. I went back, I took those apart, and I didn't have to take it all the way apart. I just took that one bolt out, and I used my glue trick to get that bolt, the one large washer, to sit in there. And I pushed it back through, and I was able to put it back on with the 18. I took off the 20, I put in the 18, and that allowed me to push this mandible down just a little bit, because you can see if it ever focuses, you can see that these eyeballs right here, they're tied up against it. Right? It barely fits. And that doesn't exactly jive with the end picture. So I'm not done yet, but I'm amazed I got that on. That was tricky. That was tough. I'll call it, if it works out and it all looks good at the end, I'll call it rewarding. But that was a struggle. I thought I was stuck. I thought I was going to have to call in help, get someone to help me out. But I was ultimately able to get that on and tighten it up. I guess we press on from here, huh? So that is, we call that the head. Would you call that the head? I guess you call that the head. I do have a spare bolt. That's one of those small washers. Not bolt, small washer. This is a bolt. This is a SE20. That's an SE20 bolt that I replaced with the 18. So hopefully that's going to work out, because I'm not done. We'll keep pressing on. We're learning together, right? We're learning together. Step 28. Wow, that was difficult. Balancing that on one finger to get it done, but it's amazing. It was amazing that I felt really accomplished when I got that done. I was like, wow, so thrilling. But 28's done, and now we're on the 29 through 39, finishing the project. In the next set of videos, we will finish the project, and we'll show you the revelation as I live out the completion of the Cyberpunk plasma spider, and you'll get to see my reaction. That's in the next video. You'll have to tune back in for that video. But in this section, did you learn anything? Did you experience anything different? What did you learn? Put those down in the comment. I really appreciate it. And while you're there, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. So until next time, take care.